Hey there, bibliophiles and those raising bibliophiles. Thank you for joining me today, and hopefully this week's book review will help you as a parent decide what's appropriate and not appropriate for your children to read, because I know how difficult it is to find great books for your children to read. So with that, this week's book review is Old School by Gordon Korman. And I absolutely loved this book. I could not put it down. I just thought it was so funny. It's definitely in the genre of humor. So if you have a reader who would love an engaging story that's kind of funny, I think they would enjoy this. So the premise of this book, and Gordon Korman writes a lot of middle school fiction or middle grade fiction, and I'm going to read a few more of his this year. I had read one several years ago and enjoyed it, and so I thought I would pick this one up, and I grabbed a few more by him, and so hopefully I'll provide those reviews for you this year in 2025. So this particular book is centered around 7th grader Dexter Foreman, who has grown up in the Pines, which is a 55-year and older senior living community where he lives with his grandmother. His parents are traveling the world on diplomatic trips and missions, and so they're busy doing that. Meanwhile, to give him stability, I suppose, is sort of how it's presented in the story, he lives with his grandmother. After a visit from a truancy officer, Dexter is forced to attend Wolf's Eye Middle School. And being the new kid at school is never easy, but being 12, going on 80 definitely makes that a little bit more difficult. So as I've done with some of the other book reviews that I have been doing this year, I'm going to read you just a little bit of the opening, kind of give you an idea of the storyline and what kinds of things kind of involve Gordon Korman's writing style. So just to give you a little preview there. One of the other things before I share that about this story is we do get different perspectives. And so I'll explain that a little bit more, but if you start reading the story, you'll see that some of the chapters are from different characters. So G47. The community room buzzes as the players rush to cover the number on their bingo cards. I'm practically vibrating in my sneakers. I'm an I-19 away from bingo. I glance up at the caller's table where the prize jar is well over half full of quarters. This is going to be the biggest payout we've had in months. If I win it, that'll be the cat's pajamas, which is what they say around here about something really, really great. I'll be playing for free until I'm 30. Cool your jets, I say to myself. Bingo is serious business at the Pines Retirement Village. Archie calls it blood sport. Kind of like our Hunger Games. Not that many people here read the Hunger Games or even watch the movies. The Pines is a senior community. You have to be 55 just to live here, and most of the residents are a lot older than that. Like Archie, who just turned 80, or my grandma, 76, or my best friend Leo. He'll be 100 next year. I'm only 12, but I'm a special case. N44. Flurries of movement all around me, discs being placed over squares. Please don't let me lose now, not when I'm so close. Bingo, calls a shrill voice. Sudden panic follows by a relief. It's just Miss Weffers. Miss Weffers declares bingo all the time, but she doesn't even have a card. She just likes to be a part of things. It doesn't bother me, but some of the real hardcore players like Archie want her banned from the community room. Grandma would never let that happen. She always says that bingo players need to get a life. I'm not sure I agree with her on that one. Here at the Pines, bingo is life. A few more numbers are called, and you can tell by the rising tension in the room that a lot of people are getting really close. I'm still stuck on I-19 and sweating bullets. Bingo! And a double call from the opposite sides of the room. There's a mad dash in two different directions as players rush to verify the winning numbers and make sure there's no funny business. During the hustle and bustle, a wayward elbow jostles the quarter jar off the table and smashes it on the tile floor. The noise level jumps to 11. Old ladies have a lot to say about what to do when there's broken glass on the floor. This gets a rise out of Archie, who doesn't appreciate being bossed around. And so it kind of continues on a little bit more. Somebody shows up. He says, this is a real brouhaha. He says, I'm confused. I've lived the past 6 years with my grandmother in her condo at a retirement community. I've never broken a law in my life. What could the police possibly want with a kid like me? Grandma doesn't see so well anymore, but she still has the most expressive eyes of anyone I know. Right now, they radiate deep concern. Something's up. Something bad. And so this is where the truancy officer shows up and tells him that he needs to start going to middle school. So Dexter, of course, when he starts middle school, he stands out like a sore thumb. And there's lots of jeers from the moment that he gets on the school bus for the first time. A lot of the people at the retirement home want to see him off for school, so they go with him. He's like referred to several times as though he's like everybody's grandson at the facility. So there's a lot of love for Dexter there. Gina Greco is a character, and she befriends him on the bus, but she's really looking for her next big break because she is a 7th grader getting to write for the school newspaper, and she's looking for the next big story to sort of solidify her spot on the school newspaper. And what better story could she come up with than a kid who's been growing up in the old folks home? At least that's what she's thinking. And so she does write a story about him. Dexter's definitely disappointed. That causes some shifts in their friendship, or what seems to be a friendship at first. And that's a huge piece of the story too, is we have the theme of friendship in here, and true friends, and what true friends are really like and what they do. And so Gina definitely understands the errors of her ways, while kind of meaning well on some aspect. She does come back and sort of apologize to him through that. Dexter there's a girl, Tegan, who her grandparents also live at the facility. And so when they were younger, they used to spend a lot of time playing and all that kind of stuff. And she comes to visit, and she wants nothing to do with him. Like, she has moved on. She does not want to play with Dexter or any of the cool, like, things that he has that he kept from things that they had done when they were younger. So she leaves, and then by the time she comes back again, Dexter's changed a little bit. He's got some more friends, and now all of a sudden she seems really interested in him. So there is a little bit of an inferred crush going on with regards to these characters, because Dexter has a bit of a crush on Tegan, but Gianna has a bit of a crush on Dexter. And so you have some of that. And then Tegan is definitely more interested in just messing with Dexter. Like, she knows that Dexter has a bit of a crush and cares for her. And she really only shows that when Gianna's around. So it's meant to kind of be a jab at Gianna, but she's also kind of making fun of Dexter. In the end, Dexter does realize that Tegan is false towards him, and he's really thankful for Gianna's friendship. The character Ronnie is Gianna's brother, and he's pretty much a bully towards Dexter at first. Dexter's kindness eventually wins out in this regard, and so there's some great quotes and there's some great character development in that, because Dexter offers to help him pass math. Meanwhile, his best friend or good friend Jackson is unwilling to help Ronnie pass. And so there's a little bit of redemption for Ronnie in the story as he grows and develops and realizes that friends should help one another out. Jackson Sharp is a really interesting character in this book, and I actually really appreciate him as a character in the story. He's the school's soccer star. He is captain of the math team, and Jackson kind of speaks about himself sometimes in the third person, and he definitely has an unhealthy view of himself. He plays a mean trick on Dexter, which ultimately doesn't work in Jackson's favor. And one quote from the story that pretty much sums up his character is, quote, "If I can't be great at everything, what's the point of being good at anything?" End quote. And that's on page 49. And it is this striving to be first, to be the best, to be noticed, to be applauded, to be the center of attention. And that sets him up against Dexter. Dexter's just being himself. And so when Dexter becomes captain of the math team, that sort of starts Jackson like, no way. There is no redemption. So unlike Ronnie, there's no redemption for Jackson's character in this story. He stays unapologetically bitter throughout the story. But like I said, that's one thing that I actually do appreciate about this story, because I think it helps readers question their own attitudes and the way that they behave towards other people, the ideas of jealousy and competitiveness. And it does it in a way without being like super obvious or just in your face. So at the end of the day, right, we have these two characters, Ronnie and Jackson. Both are not fans of Dexter. Both are mean towards him, but Ronnie changes. and he gets to know Dexter. Meanwhile, Jackson, even though he's gotten to know him, he's gotten some interactions with him, Jackson chooses to remain bitter the whole way. And as the story ends, you kind of see the outcome, right? Ronnie's happy, he's doing better, and Jackson is the one who's not happy now. And so I really think in his subtle way that he really weaved that together as part of the storyline. I really appreciate that, and I really enjoy that. And I think that's a great message for readers to see that. So as a parent, I definitely think that this is one of those books you definitely would not hesitate. You wouldn't be afraid to kind of hand this to your reader, that they would enjoy it. They're going to get good themes out of it. Meanwhile, in the story, as I read in the beginning, you have Leo, who is Dexter's best friend, and he is 99 years old. He's a World War II vet who was a code breaker. And after his first visit at school, he comes home, Dexter, and he's complaining to Leo about everything. And Leo is just a wonderful character. He gives solid advice. One of his quotes in the story that I really liked is, quote, "Don't be so hard on your new school. I only had one student to worry about, you." So just side note, Dexter was getting schooled, tutored by people at school, or people at the retirement facility. But back to the quote. He says, "So I could teach things as fast as you could soak them up. The school system has millions of kids, all of them learning at a different pace. So they design a curriculum that suits the most people. They're not the exception. We are," end quote. And so Leo also encourages Dexter that ultimately the children in school are just like them. They're just, younger, because Dexter's used to hanging out with a really much older crowd. And so it really is sweet in the story, the way that he's coaching him and guiding him and mentoring him. I will say, just so parents are aware, Leo does pass away at the end of the story, so it's kind of sad. But it's also his friends are there. The ones that really matter to help him through that. There's some quotes on my written review. I definitely want to encourage you to go to holdingsteadfastreaders.com. Check out that written review. I have some quotes there. There's some great ones about senior citizens or work ethic. All those kinds of things are in the story. And so the story does present themes that, like, our older generations, grandparents and whatnot, they have value. And so I just love that aspect of the story, that you can learn and grow from them in the story, and that's really fun. So while I was saying this story does focus really on Dexter, it is told from the perspective of other characters who interact with Dexter. So the narrative structure is given, we have Dexter's own thoughts and feelings as well as those that interact with him. And so I really liked that narrative structure choice to help move the story along, because you get to see the other people's perspectives of Dexter as they're moving through. And then one of the other parts of this book that I really liked is the coming together of the community. So Dexter gets suspended from school, and some of the students begin to show up at the Pines to support him and the injustice of his suspension. But what really happens is that these students begin to interact with the residents there, and they're learning from them, they're having fun with them, and they really receive mentors. And so what a sweet view and value that Korman has on our senior community, and the impact that they really truly can have on a younger generation, and the care and that they give them, and all the things that they try to teach them. So the interactions are not just funny, because they are funny. There are funny little things that happen, but they're also extremely valuable, and such great themes and lessons wrapped up in this story. It's definitely a winner for middle grade readers. So if you are looking for a great book that you can hand your children, you know that they're going to get great themes, they're going to laugh, then I definitely want to recommend Old School by Gordon Korman.